You have to take interest of Liverpool, of Chelsea, of the Spurs, City very, very serious. A child asked him if he would have the dream to play there at Real Madrid. He said, or other club, and he said, yes, of course, that's a big dream. Fabrizio Romano said, yes, true. It's really close. He said also 2028. So I think if Fabrizio and me are the same opinion, there's a high chance that this thing will help.
Servus, hello. This is Farrell Keeling bringing you Bayern Insider, and we're joined as ever by the head of football at Bild and Sport Bild, Christian Falk.
Hello from Munich.
And hello from the quite cold north. My garden is literally frozen over, Christian. It is very bleak in the north of England at the minute.
So you should look from my window. Here is a lot of snow.
You see, that was what I was hoping for. You see, instead we just get this like frosty layer of death in our back garden on our roads. It's a wonderful time of year up north. But anyway, on to more positive things coming up on today's show. What next for Lennart Karl after this bombshell Real Madrid comments? What does the future of Bayern Munich's left wing look like? And a ton of contract updates, transfer news, and so much more. Christian, before we get into the crazy world of transfers and contracts, of course, things are looking pretty rosy for FC Bayern early on in 2026 for numerous reasons that we're going to go on to over the course of this podcast. But let's kick things off firstly with the standings, because it's 9 points clear at the top of the Bundesliga table, 3 points off the top of the Champions League table. Is this where everyone at the club sort of felt that Bayern would be, especially knowing going into the season that it was a Finn squad that they're working with, and of course with Jamal Musiala's woefully timed injury at the Club World Cup?
Yes, that was the plan, but nobody knows if the plan will work. You know, there was a high risk with a small squad, but they always said we have the best transfers already in the squad when Alphonso Davies, Jamal Musiala, and also Ito will return. You see, Ito is already back. He scored against Salzburg in the test on Tuesday. I've been there in Salzburg. And also Davies would be fit if he doesn't have a cold. And Musiala will return in January. So you see, the plan is working out.
Excellent stuff. And obviously, speaking of that 5-0 sort of warm-up win against Salzburg, obviously Lennart Karl himself grabbed 2 goals. But you know, who was the standout in that time in particular? Who really caught the eye ahead of the return to competitive action?
Yes, it was very interesting to see because Vincent Kompany tried 2 teams, so he had complete other teams in every half. So there was a chance for the youth of Bayern Munich. And as you said, in the second half, there was Lennart Karl on the pitch, and he made 2 goals and he made 1 assist of the 5-0. So he was the man of the match again. But there were a few other Lennart Karls on the pitch. I was very impressed in the first half of Santos Steiber. He's a midfield player. He's a little bit like a Joshua Kimmich. Perhaps we have there a big talent. And on the second half, there was Chavez. And it was really nice to see how Chavez played together with Lennart Karl. 1 goal for Lennart Karl. The assist was from Chavez. He's an offensive midfield player. And the goal of Chavez was assist from Lennart Karl. So also very impressive. And it's good to see that you have such players in the squad. And you see, if you give them the chance, you can have a development like we have already now with Lennart Karl.
It's always exciting, isn't it, to see Bayern's Academy keep on producing the talents of the future. And there's 2 more names I will get onto later on the podcast that I'm very, very curious to speak to you about, Christian. But firstly, we're in the January transfer window, of course. And obviously, we left things off in our last chat by saying Bayern aren't going to do anything. You know, at best, it's probably going to be contract talks, that kind of thing. But, you know, given the club's improving injury situation, you can sort of understand Bayern's position, why they're sort of reluctant to dip into the market at this stage. But you know, and of course, January transfer windows can be incredibly quiet, perhaps boring affairs for a lot of clubs, despite the perception otherwise, perhaps. But I mean, let's just confirm this: is it going to remain quiet for Bayern?
Yes, we were right. No transfers made of Bayern Munich, except, you know, Daniel Peretz. He was a loan player at Hamburg SV. He will join Southampton, but he was not in the squad of Bayern Munich. And as you saw also, there would be just a transfer away from Bayern Munich. The try still to sell Sascha Boyoi, Max Eber, the head of sport, made a little bit pressure on him after the match against Salzburg when he said we have enough right backs, so he has a chance to leave. But he was also ill. He couldn't play against Salzburg, something with his stomach, so it's a little bit problem to sell him. I heard that the Crystal Palace move is cold at the moment. They didn't make a concrete offer, so I don't think at the moment this deal won't work. And this is a pity for Bayern Munich because, as Eber said, too much right backs in the squad.
Yes, it's an interesting problem to have, isn't it? I think it's a welcome problem, some might argue, in certain quarters, but it is what it is. Well, looking ahead to the summer, if I may, it's not the first time Yan Diomande's name has cropped up for FC Bayern, but I'm curious, Christian, as to where the club currently stands with him, because you hear reports about the player, and there's always mention of competition. Inevitably, when it comes to targets Bayern seem to like, from the Premier League, from clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester City. What's the situation with the player?
Yes, Bayern Munich made one big deal last summer. That was Luis Diaz. This was working very, very well. But there the decision was to get a complete player. He's an older player. They bought him for a lot of money, as you know, about 70 million euros. The next idea is to get a competition on this side with a younger player. That's why Yan Diomande is one player they have on the short list, as they have also Said El Mala from Cologne. That is the few they want to do something on this position, I think, at the moment. But he has a long-time contract, Yan Diomande, at Leipzig till 2030, so he's not really cheap. And that's why you have to take interest of Liverpool, of Chelsea, of the Spurs, City, very, very serious. But when we talk about these clubs, that's the same club who have Said El Mala on the list. So, they have all the same idea. Bayern Munich can do something on this position, but they don't have to, and that's a very comfortable situation for Bayern Munich.
I think the left-wing position it's quite fascinating, isn't it, for Bayern? Because we've heard so many names sort of pop up in that sort of radar for Bayern Munich. Obviously, you mentioned Said El Mala. We've heard as well Kenneth Eichhorn, Nathan De Cat. Is it true that Bayern are also monitoring 23-year-old Club Brugge winger Christos Tzolis?
So he's not one of the hot players at the moment. So they have a shortlist on a position, as I told you. They can do something. They don't have to do something. It's not very high on this list at the moment. So, but as you see, it's a question of options. So if the others are in a competition with Premier League clubs, Bayern Munich don't want to spend so much money this summer. That's why the list is longer, and players like him are on the list, but not high rated at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, let's pull us back a bit quickly to the defence, because there's a couple of topics I'm really curious to discuss with you. We spoke earlier, of course, of reasons to be cheerful about Bayern and the season ahead, and Dayot Upamecano appears to have given us one of the earliest, clearest reasons to be cheerful, because his future looks close to being resolved. Is that true or not true, Christian?
This is true. Our story we made this week, we think that now it works very fast. Perhaps we have next week already an official decision. I had him 1-to-1 after the match in Salzburg, and he said, hey, it's looking good. Just some few things they have to talk about. The Bayern Munich view is we have everything on the table, so there will have a few talks, but I think the main things are clear now, and it's still that the agents of Upa have to give the green light, and I think this will happen now very soon. So a new contract for Dayot Upamecano, and that helps Bayern Munich very, very much at the planning for the squad, because at the moment they have Jonathan Tah, they have then Upamecano for the future, and they are very comfortable situation of Min-Jae Kim. He can stay, he can leave. If he leaves, they have money for a new one. So that's at the moment the plan on these positions.
A comfortable position to be in for Vincent Kompany and his men. Well, here's hoping we can stay on that good news train a little while longer, Christian. Let's talk Jamal Musiala, because it seems he is nearing a return to the pitch, and there was talk of a minor sort of setback, but I think that's pretty normal when we're sort of talking about quite a serious injury that he's recovering from. But, how goes his recovery efforts, and realistically, how close is he to a return to the pitch?
So, in my view, he will return this January. When he was talking, the least he said, in my opinion, I would like to play already last month, but the doctors say better take time. It was a very serious injury. It's not so important. We don't have a Champions League final in January, so he can recover. But as you see, if it's important, he could play already. He's in the squad. He is making nearly all things at the training. So I think it's just a question of few days, perhaps weeks, but we see him on the pitch again in January.
And they won't want to take any risks, of course, after such a serious injury. Well, sticking with the future at FC Bayern, there's obviously a couple of names that have caught the eye in the media. Firstly, that of 18-year-old Bara Ndiaye. I'm just curious, Christian, because I heard some reports suggesting that Bayern were planning first-team minutes for the player.
This is a little bit complicated because he's not allowed to play in official matches, just friendly matches. This is a little bit the pity on this deal. He's even not allowed to play in the second team and the under 19. So the big question is, what do they do with this player? You know, he could be an option for the next Leon Goretzka. Perhaps they have to do a loan deal that he get minutes, but at the moment the plan is he can make the competition in the training, and then they have to see how it works out. But this case is not finally closed, so they have to see. It's a pity that he can't play official matches, but yes, they have this talent. It's they have a partnership with Africa, with the club of him. So this is an idea how it works for the future, but it would be better if he is allowed to play, of course.
One to keep an eye on then. Speaking of exciting youngsters, I also wanted to touch upon Wisdom Mike. Obviously, we know the left-wing position at Bayern is something that's very much under consideration by the recruitment team. Is this another player that Kompany and his coaching staff are looking at and sort of think, we've got one here, we've got one who can really be the future of the position?
Warsaw Kompany believes in him. That's why he get, a lot of minutes this season already for talent, but at the match against Salzburg, he didn't play so well when he had the chance, about 45 minutes. He's not at the moment very high rated to be the next one for the competition against Luis Diaz, I think. So he has to fight. He is a talent, but he has to make the next step at the moment. He didn't make it as well, but as you see how Lennart Karl did when he had the chance. So it's a little bit problem because there's a big difference for Wisdom Mike. Perhaps that's a little bit unfair, but that's the deal in the professional football.
Of course. And you never know with these talents, you know, the development might suddenly peak or drop. So it's one to sort of keep an eye on. Well, let's steer back to the talents, firmly within sort of Bayern's roster and firmly within the first team sort of setup. We talked, of course, about Karl making such a strong start to 2026 with this goal-scoring display against Salzburg in the warm-up game. But the year perhaps hasn't kicked off as perfectly as everyone might have hoped. Obviously, we touched upon those controversial comments about a prospective transfer to Real Madrid, which will, of course, have raised eyebrows in Munich, naturally. But I wanted to get your perspective on this, Christian, because my understanding of the situation is that he and the club feel that his comments were somewhat misinterpreted. But I mean, surely this is now at least a small worry for the club's decision makers.
Yes, it is. You know, we have a big tradition here. The Bayern Munich made since years. I think it's a great tradition. After Christmas, the players are sent to the fan club, and Lennart Karl, he's very young. It was his first time at the fan club, and the supporters can ask questions there. It's not like a interview in a journalistic situation, so you talk a little bit more open. And a child asked him if he would have the dream to play there at Real Madrid. He said, or other club, and he said, yes, of course, that's a big dream. So I think we shouldn't take this too serious because you don't forget he made when he was 10 years old, he played at Real Madrid for the scouts at Bernabeu. So this is impressing. Who wouldn't be impressed as well? But he has Bayern Munich in his heart, and he knows about his chance. He was training very hard with a own coach in the winter break in Germany. So I think he's 17 years old. Of course, many fans were a little bit insulted and blamed him for that. But I think he's allowed to say that. At the end, he say sorry to the bosses of Bayern Munich. There were talks. He knows now that it's not so clever to say something like this, but that's a process. You say process in English. He has to learn, and I think that's fine for everybody.
That's the thing. He's such a young player. I think he's probably handled this as transparently as he can in the situation. I think it's a unique situation, as you sort of brought up. Of course, he's had that sort of touch point with Real Madrid sort of very, very early on in his sort of youth career. But I think it's perhaps important to remember that, again, it is Bayern that have given him this chance. He's aware of that. The club is aware of that. We can talk about circumstances with Florian Wirtz. Would he have got the same amount of game time? But the truth is he's excelling and he's getting plenty of minutes for such a young player.
Yes, he now is a professional who is in the squad for Warsaw Company, a player like everybody, not a talent anymore. He's in the competition, and don't forget his contract will be a new one on his birthday. His birthday is 22nd of February. The contract will extend till 2029, and as we heard, there are already now talks with his agent Michael Ballack for a contract even till 2031, with a high salary, of course. But so you see, he's very, very confident at Bayern Munich, and he will extend anyway. The question is still how long and how much will be his salary. So Bayern Munich counts on him on the future, and no ideas about a change or transfer to Real Madrid or any other club.
Well, I'm sure everyone over at Munich will be keeping their fingers crossed that Karl maintains a long stay at the Allianz Arena for the foreseeable future. He's had a phenomenal season so far. But what would appear to be proving considerably less of a worry for everyone concerned at Munich, Christian, of course, is Harry Kane's future. Because everyone at the club, including the striker, they all seem to be making the right noises about a contract extension. But is it true or not true that Bayern are increasingly confident that the player is going to put pen to paper on a new contract?
This is true. I have to say there were no new talks during the winter break, but Harry Kane was also at a fan club. He said he's feeling very confident by Munich and can expect everything. No ideas about a change. I talked with him after the Salzburg match. I said, "Hey, Harry, any news?" He said, "No, that's what I said at the fan club. I'm really, really happy to be at Bayern Munich, and we will see what happens in the future." We know that Bayern Munich want to extend this contract, but there's no hurry, Harry or Harry. So my English makes some synonyms. But he has still his contract clause till end of January. He don't want to take it. So Bayern Munich just want to wait till this clause is running out for the next talks. If it happens already in spring, or Harry Kane would be also fine after the World Cup. No changes. And remember, I heard when Bayern Munich made his offer, when he's still playing for Tottenham, there was Saudi Arabia calling, and he would have earned hundreds of million euros if he would sign this deal. And he said, no idea. I will go to Bayern Munich. I want to win titles. And he has not every title still, and there's still the hope of Harry to win the Champions League with Bayern.
No, I saw a graphic this morning which was comparing his stay, obviously, at Tottenham to Bayern's two years at Bayern Munich, 2 trophies. I think it's 13 years at Tottenham and no trophies. Not an unintentional dig at Spurs fans. I do apologise, but the truth is he's winning at Bayern Munich.
Yeah, and that's the DNA of Bayern Munich, and he's feeling so well, and he's living this DNA, and he's one part of it now, and I think always when you talk with him now, he's just saying about, I want to win more and more and more. And that's the Bayern Munich thingy.
Absolutely. And one man that's also helping Bayern achieve their lofty goals this season is that of one of his colleagues, Serge Gnabry, whose future could also be sorted soon. According to the latest round of reports, Christian, Gnabry is now incredibly likely to sign a new contract. Is that very much still the case?
Yes, that's true. That was our information. You remember end of December, I think the 19th, we said he will sign a new contract in 2028. Now also my lovely colleague Fabrizio Romano said, yes, true. it's really close. He said also 2028. So I think if Fabrizio and me are the same opinion, there's a high chance that this thing will happen. And so Serge Gnabry, who made it very well under Vincent Kompany, the last years he didn't perform so well, but this season is his season, and I think it's also good from both sides to say, okay, we reduce your salary, but you can sign a contract with his shorter. No risk for both sides. If he's doing still very well, he has a chance to go to another club as a free agent later. Or Bayern Munich says, hey, you showed that this wasn't not just one season that you played good. You get a higher salary and a new contract.
Well, and there you have it. Transfers, contracts, and the future of FC Bayern looking very bright indeed, Christian. If you're catching this on YouTube, be sure to drop us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Hammer that notification bell so you're always the first to know what is true or not true. This has been the Bayern Insider Podcast with the inimitable Christian Falk, and I've been your host, Farrell Keeling. Take care, and danke fürs Zuschauen.